Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Tomorrow is the last day of the birthday marathon that I've been doing. About a month ago I put up a poll on my YouTube community channel and on Facebook asking what I should do for my birthday video, and I put up a couple of options like my favourite songs of any genres, favourite bands of any genres, and a couple of other options, and it unanimously came back, or not unanimously, it came back overwhelmingly in favour of favourite songs of any genre, which I was quite pleased about, because when I first started this channel I wanted to investigate all different kinds of music, from every different genre I could possibly get suggestions from, but it's been mostly heavy metal that I've ended up doing over the last 6 years, and I'm not mad about that. I found some amazing bands that I really enjoyed. I've found some bands that I wasn't overly fond of. I've made quite a few friends through actual musicians who I've looked at, or through people who have come to my channel and enjoyed what I do. So I'm not overly mad at that. But when I got this suggestion of favourite songs any genre, I was quite happy about that. So I've been looking at a rather varied selection of songs. I've been looking at things like Richard Marx, Depeche Mode, Pearl Jam, Rosa Walton doing the I Really Want to Stay at Your House from Cyberpunk 2077, and Edge Runners. I've been trying to mix things up a bit. So what I've been doing is I've been listening to one metal song a day and one of a different genre a day, because I had to write out a list of favourite songs, and believe me, that list was vast. It was huge. It took me nearly a month just to narrow it down to 14, and even then that was bloody difficult, because I didn't have any intention of doing this many videos, because last year I did 14 videos, and that was a lot of time and a lot of effort to record those videos and have them ready to go out. So I didn't want to do that many again, but here we are. So earlier today we had, what did we have? We had Eminem, Toy Soldiers, which I mentioned was one of the songs that I initially wanted to do when I first started doing this channel, but I never got the chance to because I was getting so many requests. So, I finally managed to do it, and, I think it was a very powerful piece of music because of the message that it was bringing across. Now, the track I'm going to look at now, no surprise, is doom metal. You'll notice that a lot of the songs that I've looked at on the heavy metal side of things have been sort of gothic and doom sort of inspired. We've had My Dying Bride, we've had Insomnium, we've had Swallow the Sun, and they've all sort of gone along the similar sort of theme as well, which I'd never actually noticed until I did this, is that a lot of the themes of my favourite songs seem to be loneliness, romance and love, and I suppose it kind of makes sense because I am a very lonely person, because I do live out in the arse end of nowhere and I have no friends within 40 miles, but so it never occurred to me that a lot of the songs that I was listening to, songs that I really enjoy, are about loneliness, loss, wanting to find that loved one, which are all things that I genuinely do feel myself. With that being said, we're going to be looking at a Draconian song. I've looked at Draconian twice on here before. I think I did it about a year ago and 3 years ago. And I also feel like I've mentioned this song quite a lot when I've spoken about variations in lyrics and vocals and styles like that. It's a track called The Cry of Silence, which is actually the first track off their debut album, I believe. And this track, when I first heard it, I absolutely fell in love with it, because it's got a mixture of vocal styles, and the song changes quite considerably halfway through. It shifts tempo, it shifts style halfway through, and it really grabs your attention. And it's a track that I really like. And, the performance of the music, obviously with it being doom metal, it's something that I really enjoy anyway. But the actual performance itself is just fantastic. So, yes, it's quite a long song if I do remember correctly. I never really pay attention to the length of songs when I listen to them just casually. But if I remember correctly, this is a fairly long song. So we'll jump to the song and see what we've got. But before we do that, if you could just take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already. You know, it would really help me out. It would make a huge difference to this channel. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 6 years, and as it stands, not even 2% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, and that's a little bit disheartening. So, you know, if you could take a moment to like and subscribe, you know, it doesn't cost you anything. It takes you a fraction of a second, and it would make a big difference to me and to the channel. But anyway, we'll jump into this, and I keep going to say see what we've got, but I know what we've got coming. We're going to see this track, The Cry of Silence by Draconian. Let's go. There you go. The Cry of Silence by Draconian. I mean, how is that for an opening track to an album? I mean, this is like the opening track of their debut album, if I remember correctly. And what a way to do it, because it is such a fucking good song. You know, your song starts off sort of really slow and really somber, and then, you know, sort of picks up in pace. You know, towards the middle, it sort of picks up a little bit, and then right towards the end, it really picks up, you know, really amps up. And I like that, because, I mean, the song is called The Cry of Silence, and it's like someone who's struggling with the anguish of loneliness by the sounds of things. You know, when you actually read it, you know, he's struggling with isolation, loneliness, you know, being alone. And, you know, his sort of torment seems to increase as the song goes by, you know, up until it reaches that massive crescendo at the end, and then it sort of just suddenly stops and goes off into that bit of piano right at the end. You know, so maybe sort of like finally like let loose, gave one a hell of a belting scream to the heavens above, and then just sort of went, thank fuck I've let all that out, sort of thing, you know. And, you know, I love the piece of music. I think it sounds great. Like I say, you know, it starts off with, it's almost like spoken word from the male vocal, and then like the female vocal comes in. It's got a bit more rhythm, a bit more sort of musicality to it. And then, you know, you get to the middle of the song, and then comes in the harsher vocals, where where his frustrations start getting more and more. And then, like, towards the end, you know, there's still the harsh vocals, but, you know, the pace quickens, and it sort of builds to that big sort of crescendo where he's like, for fuck's sake, yeah, sort of thing. And that's one of the things that I love about this song, because, you know, when it does that change in sort of tempo and style, you sort of go, hold on, what's this? And then it does it again, you're like, oh, hello, what's this? You know, and that's what I really like about the song. You know, it really grabs your attention. It's almost like it's a song in 3 parts, and it is just done so well. It sounds so great. The music is amazing. You know, I absolutely love this band. They are fantastic. Like I said, you know, there does seem to be a theme with the favourite songs I've picked on the heavy metal side of things this week, because they all seem to be talking about loneliness, misery, loss, sorrow, that sort of thing, and all of them seem to be things that I actually feel in real life on a daily basis. So, you know, kind of, my taste in music kind of informs people how I'm actually feeling, which is unusual. But then, you know, I always tend to use music to communicate to people how I'm feeling. But these are favourite songs of mine. These aren't just how I'm feeling at the moment. These are favourite songs of mine. So anyway, I mean, the first line of the song says the entire thing. It says, filled with sorrow, bleak inner self, touched by pride, devoured by solitude, still wrapped in time, I'm flowing with pain. I mean, I don't even need to explain what those lines mean. You know, bleak inner self, touched by pride, devoured by solitude, I'm flowing with pain. You know, holding myself back in suspicion and lingering in the dust of my abandoned remains, killed with the dagger of life. So the Cry of Silence, you know, he's miserable, he's alone, but by the sounds of it, he sounds like he's sort of a sort of spirit in purgatory, kind of, in a way, you know, because he said the dust of my abandoned remains, killed with the dagger of life. So, you know, it's his sort of soul, his spirit sort of floating around, you know, haunting where his now desiccated remains lay, you know. Such an exquisite pride in my suffering, alone, all alone, with the emotional streams of my soul. So real, so pure, yet I'm left aside, entangled in fear, without hope. So again, you know, those lines there, alone, all alone, you know, streams of my soul. So real, yet so pure, I'm left aside. So he feels abandoned and unwanted, you know, entangled in fear, without hope, you know. He's feeling lost, he's feeling scared, he's feeling frustrated and, you know, discarded and unwanted. And, you know, he's got no way out of this, and there's no one around to help him. No one, you know, he's basically just floating in a black void by the sounds of things. I am truly left alone, but somehow, just somehow, it feels like my loneliness is a victory over the self-delusion of joy and happiness. So he feels like his loneliness is a victory over the self-delusion. So rather than lying to himself about the fact that he's happy, you know, the misery he's feeling is how he really feels, rather than having to put on this, this facade to try and, placate everybody. You know, like people who suffer with depression, you can tell that they're hurting, you can tell that they're suffering, and you go up to them and go, "Are you okay?" And they go, "Yeah, I'm fine." They put on that fake smile, they put on that sort of almost over-enthusiastic personality to be like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm doing great. But in reality, inside, they are soul-crushed. They are absolutely miserable. But they put on this facade to try and, placate everybody else, because you'll find in a number of cases, if you're feeling miserable and someone walks up to you and goes, "Are you okay?" and you turn and go, "Well, not really, I'm feeling it." They don't want to hear it. They want to hear, "Yeah, I'm fine." They don't want to hear whether you're miserable or not. And I've had a lot of first-hand experience with that, including from mental health professionals. He feels like now being himself, letting his depression, his misery, his state of being, just letting him just be, is a victory over having to force himself to pretend to be happy to please everybody else. And this is where it's sort of picked up into the first sort of step up in the music. It goes, "My heart beats faster, the anguish becomes clearer, and my misanthropic view gets stronger, living in the shadows, so proud of being the one, but desperate, so desperate for a helping hand, do I really want to live this life?" So this sort of steps away from the idea that he's a sort of disembodied spirit. When he's talking about the dust of his abandoned remains, he could be talking about the ruins of his life, essentially. Like everything he's tried so hard for is just sort of turned into dust. Everything around him is like crumbling, and that's what he's talking about, not his actual life or his physical form. He's just saying, like, everything around me is turning to dust, everything is fallen into ruin, I'm miserable, why do I fucking bother? And he's saying, "Yet anguish becomes clearer and my misanthropic view grows stronger." And misanthropic, it's almost like jaded, cynical sort of thing, if I remember correctly. My view of the world grows stronger. I'm seeing the world for what it really is. Proud of being the one, but desperate, so desperate for a helping hand. Do I really want to live this life? So he's seeing the world for what it really is. He's not putting on this false facade of like smiling and pretending to be happy for everybody. He's like happy at the fact that he can just be him, but he's still desperate for someone to come along and be like, "Look, let me help you." Someone who genuinely cares, someone who genuinely wants to help him and isn't just doing it for the niceties. Someone who genuinely wants to help, someone who genuinely loves him, someone who genuinely cares. He's still desperate for that one person who can understand him, who can sort of really get into his head on the same level, understand why he is the way that he is, and not just be that person who's going, "It could be worse," or "There's people worse off than you." He doesn't want that. He wants someone who can empathise with him. But it's near impossible to find someone like that. It goes on, "I have 1,000 reasons to die, and many millions of tears to cry in silence. The human plague has emptied my life, and I curse the day I was born to this world." So again, this is what I was saying before, he's become jaded with the world. He's sick to death of how the world is so two-faced. Again, like those people who feign interest or feign caring in your life. It's like, "Are you okay?" And you go, "Actually, no, I'm not feeling that great." And they're like, "Oh God, I don't want to hear this." All they want to hear is "Yeah, I'm fine." He's sick of that. He's got so many reasons. Every single thing about the people on this planet just disgust him, and he's sick to death of it. He's fed up with all the lies, the deceit. He's fed up with being lonely. He's fed up with no one understanding him. So many millions of tears to cry in silence because no one understands him. No one sort of connects with him on the same level. No one quite grasps why he feels the way he does. The human plague has emptied my life. The people of this world are just fucking horrible. Because there's all these people that do all these horrible, cruel things. There's all these people that judge you over the most pathetic of things. Like, when I was at school, I was the only male in school with long hair, and I was relentlessly tortured for it. But what is the point in that? It doesn't serve a purpose. It doesn't accomplish anything. All it does is give the person doing the bullying a false sense of superiority. And he's sick of those sorts of people. He curses the day he was born into the world because, I didn't ask to be here. This place is shithole. I'm sick of the deception of mankind. But it carries on. Still no one else I ever want to be, and no one else I intend to be, because no one else I was meant to be. So I'm no one else ever want. I wouldn't want to be anybody but myself, because that wouldn't be true to myself. I don't intend to be anybody else, because this is who I was meant to be. I'm not going to pretend to be someone else anymore. I'm not going to put on this false facade anymore. I'm not going to try and fit in with who with what you think I should be. I'm not going to try and fit into your societal norms. I'm not going to be a sheep. I'm not going to, conform to what you consider to be normal. This is exactly what I said when I was at school. It's like, these people relentlessly bullied me because I stood out, because I was different. And I was like, yeah, but I could just as easily just pretend to be just like you and fit in and be a sheep and be one of the cool kids. Well, I could never be a cool kid because I just wasn't. But, I'm not going to change who I am to please you. I'm going to be me. And that's what he's saying there. And it goes, I want, this is where it really picked up towards the end. I want, I long for my retribution. I want, I yearn for my retribution. I want my retribution, and I want it now. Unity, a gathering of open wounds, of dark, clean spirits. What a dream so distant. Why should I be alone? When I love my brotherhood, shall I die to be free? When I cry in silence, please let me die in silence. Oh my God, please let me die in silence. So he's going, I want my retribution, I want to have my revenge on mankind. I want to be understood. I want people to accept me for who I am, and I want people to suffer as they've made me suffer, and I want that to happen now, because I'm sick of being everybody's punching bag. I'm sick of being the outcast. I'm sick of being miserable. I'm sick of being alone. I'm sick of no one understanding me. I'm sick of no one being on the same wavelength as me, and I want to make everybody understand. I want to make people understand how they're making me feel. I want the world to understand why I am the way that I am. So, and he's saying, what a dream so distant. It's never going to happen. The world is never going to understand. People are never going to understand each other. We all live on the same planet. We should all be trying to work together, for the benefit of mankind, for the benefit of the planet. But there is always going to be conflict. There is always going to be that one cunt who wants to be better than everybody else, who wants to put someone else down, who wants to feel superior to everybody else. There's always going to be that fucker. And there's always going to be the people that stand out, the people that refuse to conform. Because it's like, why the fuck should I behave like everyone else just because that's what you consider to be normal? It's not up to you to decide how I live my life. And he's like, it's a distant dream, because this is never going to happen. It's an impossible dream, essentially. It says, should I die? Should I die to be free? You know, is that the only time I'm ever actually going to be free of all this bullshit? You know, and, you know, when I cry in silence, you know, because no one hears his suffering, no one hears his misery, no one hears his frustration, which is the cry in silence, because, you know, he could be wailing at the top of his lungs, but nobody hears, nobody wants to hear. So yeah, you know, I really like the song, and I like the fact that it is so impassioned. You know, it starts off, you know, him sort of miserable, and then he sort of gets himself worked up a bit, and he's sort of like, hold on a second, why should I be feeling this way when everybody else is going on happily just stamping on my head and pushing me down? And then towards the end he's like, do you know what, fuck this shit, I'm gonna be heard. You know, it really sort of ramps up, and I love it. I think this is just such a great piece of music, and like I said, for the opening track of a debut album, you know, what a fucking way to do it. Yeah, it is a great piece of music. It is. I'm sure I've mentioned this track many times in past videos as an example of a great opening track on an album, and I've never actually covered the track, so now's the perfect time, and boom, there we go. So anybody who isn't actually familiar with the song or the band, there you go, that's the song I've been talking about. You know, absolutely outstanding, you know, and the vocal performance, like I said, you know, you've got the different vocal styles in there, you've got the male and the female vocals in there. It is just an outstanding piece of music. But I can't think of anything else to say on that without carrying on gushing over it. Now tomorrow is the last day of the marathon, where we've got possibly some predictable choices coming up, or at least one predictable choice, because we've got Megadeth coming up tomorrow, and you know, that one shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, because we've already covered my favourite band, My Dying Bride, so it was only logical we were going to look at Megadeth, who were like my gateway band into metal. They are the band that got me into metal, so it seemed only logical we'd be looking at Megadeth. But what track? We've also got possibly a piece of music coming out of left field for my other genre piece for tomorrow, so that should be interesting. But we're going to leave this track as it is at the moment. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like or a subscribe, because it really would make a big difference, and it really would help me out. You know, I've been doing this for 6 years, and as it stands, not even 2% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, and that's kind of disheartening, because, you know, I've been doing it for 6 years, and I've put a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm uploading the videos and they're just sort of disappearing off into nowhere, and they're not getting suggested to people because people aren't liking and subscribing. And, you know, it's quite disheartening, because I put a lot of time and effort into this, and I'd like to think I do something at least a little different than most other reactors. You know, I don't do these massively comical overreactions to, like, when a good piece of, like, when a filthy drop comes out. I'm not going, you know, with all that sort of comical overreaction. You know, yes, I'm doing reactions, but I'm doing honest reactions. You know, I'm not here to make silly faces and do fake gasps and stuff like that. I'm here to give honest reviews and opinions on pieces of music, and talk about the music, which nobody else does. Well, some do it, but not very many. You know, most other reactors don't talk about the songs, the meaning behind the songs, the stories, the themes. You know, that sort of gets overlooked by most reactors. And this is one of the things I love about music, is the fact that it can communicate stories, tales, you know, frustrations with real life problems. You know, and we've covered over 800 songs on this channel, and a vast majority of them have had important meanings to them. You know, whether it be depression, suicidal ideation, homelessness, veterans being left out in the cold after, you know, giving their lives to protect the country, that sort of thing. You know, it covers all sorts of topics, and these are things that people don't think apply to metal songs. You know, there's this misconception that metal is all about violence and murder and sacrifice, which isn't true. It's farthest from the truth. If anything, metal has more depth and meaning behind it than any other genre of music. And this is what I wanted to talk about. This is what I wanted to I wanted to change that perception that people had, you know. But if people don't like and subscribe, then no one's going to actually see it, and, you know. Anyway, so if you could like and subscribe, it really would make a big difference to me. It really, really would. But yeah, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you all very, very much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.